Yo, what's going on, guys? It's me, Tim, back with another video after a long time of not sharing anything. Today, I wanted to share with you something that I've been wanting to share for a while, and that is the differences between the Leica M10 and the Leica M240. I've had both of these cameras for quite a while. I've done several videos in the Leica M10, several videos on the Leica M240. These are my main two squeezes. I love these cameras so much. Wait, that looked kind of weird. But really, I really kind of wanted to dig into these two cameras. So this video may be a little bit longer than some of my other videos, but I really wanted to share my thoughts on these two cameras since they are the cameras that I use extensively for pretty much almost all of my professional work and all of my work that I do just as a photographer, as a dad photographer. Yeah, as a dad who just photographs his kids all the time. These are my two favorite tools that I use amongst a variety of film cameras. So buckle in. This is not going to be as long as Top Gun, but Top Gun was awesome. You should definitely go see it. But this is definitely something that you don't want to miss. And these are just my thoughts on these two cameras, the Leica M240 and the Leica M10, M240, M10. So let's go ahead and jump into it. Now, the first thing that I really want to talk about are the features of these two cameras. Now, the Leica M10 is a fantastic camera that has a lot going for it, but its price tag can make some people hesitate before buying. Now, the Leica M240 is a great alternative if you're looking for a good and affordable rangefinder camera. However, the two cameras are quite different in many ways, making the comparison a little difficult. So let's take a look at the differences between these two models and find out what makes them so different, and also what might be the right choice for you if you're looking for one of these two. Now, the first thing I think we need to have a little chat about is the naming system of Leica cameras. I know some who may be reading, or those who are watching this may be wondering why we have two separate naming systems for two cameras that were released one after each other, almost one after each other. Now, the best answer, and probably the most reasonable answer that I could find on the interwebs about the naming convention, is that it means the same thing that internal designations by other manufacturers mean. It's a designation of the model within the product name range. Every product has internal designators that are only rarely used in the broad public discussion of the model. Leica has decided, like some other manufacturers, to simplify the model naming to the architect names for the branding and advertising, like the M, the Q, the T, the SL, the X, and the S, and use those type of specific model identifications for the general public as well. Now, we see this all the time in cars. Like, for instance, you may drive a 2006 Mercedes-Benz SLK 280. Internally is the second series of SLK class cars, the first being the type R170, the second being the R171, and the third being the R172. There are other variations within these types too. The same thing happens in Ford Mustangs, Chevy Malibus, Chevy Corvettes, and etc. and etc. Enthusiasts wanting to more specific ways to identify their car tape by these type of designations, and others often have these type of equipment name changes that are constantly running within inside each model. Most people just know the cars by the year and model name. Enthusiasts of a particular brand know them by year, type, and designation. I don't know about you, but it makes the Leica sound a lot more luxurious by having the M series than like the Sony A7R4. Cue Sony fanboys coming after me. Now let's talk about the build and design differences. As you can tell, the Leica M10 is quite slim compared to the Leica M240. I never quite realized how heavy the M240 was until I got the M10. The M10 is slender and brings back the times of the 1950s Leica M3. The M10 hits all the right things between nostalgia of the old M film bodies with all of the modern touches of today's digital camera. Now the Leica M240 is thicker than a bowl full of oatmeal. This thing is thick with a C and not a K. However, like I said, I've never noticed how thick it was until I was shooting with the M10. Now if I did not own the M10, I would be perfectly happy shooting the M240 as my primary M digital camera. One way that Leica was able to slim down the Leica M10 is by ditching the video function that the M240 had. I have no clue why anyone would ever want to shoot video on a manual focus Leica rangefinder body, but I'm sure someone did and loved it, so I'm not going to bash it. I think in Leica's attempt to keep up with the cameras that made an error in adding video to the M240. Now, they corrected that error with the M10. The differences don't just stop with the size of the camera bodies. The viewfinder in the M10 has a greater magnification than the M240 at 0.73 compared to the M240's 0.68. The biggest design difference is always also what's on top of the camera and what's on back of the camera. Leica moved the ISO dial from the button on the back of the M240 to the knob on the M10 that is on top of the camera. Typically, this is where you would find the rewind knob on most Leica film cameras. But wait, there's more. The button layout on the back of the camera is also completely different from the M240 to the M10. Leica decided to go with less is more in this design aesthetic and took away buttons the M240 had, and leaving the M10 with only 3 buttons compared to the 6 buttons you would find on the back of the M240. Now the next thing I want to talk about is the battery life. Now, there is a difference between these two, and I want to give this an aspect in this review, a slight asterisk, because of the time that I actually purchased my M10 versus the time that I've had my M240. I bought the M10 at the beginning of 2021, and for most events that I photographed in 2021, I wore a mask and I wear glasses, making looking through the viewfinder of any camera extremely difficult. When I'm photographing weddings, I've grown to use the back LCD screen as my viewfinder. I've done this so much over the last 2 years, it is almost impossible for me to go back of looking through the optical viewfinder on either camera or any camera, especially the one on the M10. All that being said, with the smaller body comes a smaller battery. That means the M240, which means less time shooting with the M10 before I have to change out the battery. Today, while using the rear LCD screen as my monitor when shooting a wedding, I get about 8 to 9 hours of battery life with the M10. When I'm using the optical viewfinder only, I can get about 2 days out of this battery. When I'm using the Leica M240, I can get 3 or 4 days using just the optical viewfinder because the battery is so much larger. I've never shot the M240 in live view, but I'm certain if I did, I would get slightly longer use since the battery is bigger than the Leica M10. Now, I want to talk about the menu design in the rear LCD. If there's one gigantic, noticeable difference between the M10 and the M240, it would be the rear LCD and the menu layout. The menu layout in the M240 looks and feels what you would want a menu layout to be for a camera released in 2012. Is a little dated, but still serves the purpose of having absolutely everything a photographer would need while making easy decisions when you're navigating the menu. Now, the Leica M10's menu feels up to date despite being a camera that is now 5 years old. The button layout on the back of the M10 simply makes sense with 3 large buttons versus the 6 small buttons on the Leica M240. To me, personally, the biggest jump is in the rear LCD quality. The images of the Leica M10 jump off the rear LCD screen. They are vibrant, you can easily tell what's in focus and what is not in focus. The LCD on the M240 is okay. It's not great, but it gets the job done. It's the best way I can communicate the differences of the M240 is like driving a Honda Accord. It's a great reliable car and will get great gas mileage, but the M10 is like driving a Maserati when it comes to the rear LCD screen. Now I want to give you a couple of reasons why you should buy the M240. I think the main reason why anyone should buy this today in 2022 is the Leica M240 is because of the price point. You can get into an M240 in pretty good condition for around $2,000. It's about 80% of the Leica M10. Another reason why you might want to buy the M240 is because maybe you enjoy shooting video, and this could possibly fill in as a C-roll camera if you're in a pinch. But hey, at least you have video that you can shoot with. One more reason you would want to buy the M240 over the M10 is the M240 has the anti-alias filter, which means the M240 will control those funky lines that you see more than the M10. Now, the last reason I personally would consider the M240 would be because of its size. It's a bit heavier, feels a bit more substantial in the hands. Plus, if you ever needed to fight off someone when trying to steal your equipment, you can use the M240 as a club that could do some serious damage to the perp. Now, let's talk about a reason why you should buy the Leica M10. This is also going to sound weird since I had it as a reason why you should buy the Leica M240, but it is the price. Leicas are already expensive, but the great thing about Leica is that they hold their value for an extremely long time. They do not depreciate at the rate that other digital cameras do. And at the moment, you can buy a Leica M10 for about $4,000. Now I know that is about $2,000 more than you can get the M240, but if you compare it to the $8,500 a Leica M11 costs, then you know it is still quite the steal in price. Another reason why you may want to purchase the M10 over the M240 is the large viewfinder. You can see a little bit more of the scene before someone enters or leaves your frame lines. I also think a huge plus for the M10 is the more detailed LCD screen, especially if you have become an LCD screen shooter like myself. I will say another reason is the Leica M10's faster burst shooting mode. The Leica M10 shoots at a burst rate of 5 frames per second, while the Leica M240 only shoots at 3 frames per second. And if you're shooting on a memory card with a high refresh rate, you can make the Leica M10 fly when you need it to, which you can't quite do with the M240, although the M240 is no slouch in that aspect either. There are also a few other features that I would like to mention that I've never used. One is the Wi-Fi. That's not even a word. I don't even know what Wi-Fi. You can use Wi-Fi to get your JPEGs over to your phone, and using a time lapse for images that might tickle something for you, but that doesn't fit my style of photography, so I probably will never use either one of those features. My final conclusions about the M10 and the M240 is, let's be honest, if you're reading or watching this review on YouTube, you probably already have made up your mind with which Leica is best for you. You're probably searching for confirmation bias and why you should spend your hard-earned money. Now, the short of it all is that both of these cameras are extremely capable of living on your camera straps around your neck for at least the next 10 years. They are both great cameras. One just has a little bit more technology than the other. I do, however, like to end these reviews with the same thing, and that is neither of these cameras will make you a better photographer. One may make your life slightly easier as a photographer, but the only thing that will make you a better photographer is actually working on your craft and getting out and using whatever camera you buy to take a lot of photographs. So often we as creatives can get so wrapped up in what we create and why we create that we forget why we are creating. I personally think both of these cameras are great options as your new used camera. As a long run review of these, I have used both of these extensively over the last several years, and I can say nothing but high praises on both of these. Now, the Leica M240, you're going to miss out on some features on the M10. But on the M10, you're going to miss out on some features of the M240. They're both great cameras. Neither are perfect, but you will enjoy shooting either one of them if you're looking into getting into a Leica digital camera. Now, I've owned the Leica M6, the Leica M4, the Leica M10, the Leica M240. I've also owned the Konica Hexar AF and RF, which all take M-mount lenses, and the Zeiss Icon. I cannot tell you how high I can speak on these cameras as tools for photography, but if you're looking into getting one of either one, you really can't go wrong. Which one's better is totally subjective to the person using it, or to the wallet that the person is who's spending their money. But what I would suggest is get what you can afford and invest in lenses. I just want to say thank you so much, guys, for watching this video. I appreciate you taking the time out of your day. And if you like this video, please give me a sub, and we will show you some images from these cameras, and I will also share you some B-roll of both of these cameras. My Leica M240, the rear LCD screen is broken, but it still works just as great as the day that I bought it, which was also broken. But that's all I got for you guys today. Thank you so much for watching, and I cannot wait to see you in the next one. Peace.